I really need us to have a conversation about your wedges and specifically your gapping, so your lofts. Also, what bounce you have on what wedge, depending on loft, and scenarios you play in majority of the time. And what I mean by scenarios is conditions. Do you play Parkland? Do you play links? Do you play heathland? Is it firm? Is it soft? Do you have elevated greens, deep bunkers? All these things make up what wedges you should have. Now let me know down below in the comments what conditions you play right now. Okay, so right now I'm gaming a 50 with a 12 bounce, a 54 with a 12 bounce, and a 58 with a 14-degree bounce. These are the wedges that I got fitted for, but maybe you didn't get fitted. Maybe you just need some help and some guidance if you're in the market or if you're not, and just to know if you've got the right wedges. Because the wedges, right, they're so underestimated how important they are. They're one of our, I would say, most used clubs after our putter, because not all of us hit more than 50% of greens. Most of us miss greens. Most of us have to wedge it on par fives. Most of us have to recover out of the trees. When I'm saying most of us, I'm 100% including myself on this. Okay, let me start with my 50 degree and tell you how I came to the conclusion of using this. I did laser that, but I forgot how far I had. Okay, we have 102 to the flag. Let's see if we can get this in there nice and tight to that flag right there. Oh, I'll tell you what, that's all over it, isn't it? Hop, skip, taw. I'm gonna hit another one there because you wanna have wedges that fit your set and then fit you. They're gonna be next to each other then. Next to each other. And you're probably thinking, Alex, what the heck do you mean by that? So, gapping. This is really, really important. What I really want you to look at here is, first and foremost, what is the loft of your pitching wedge? So, this pitching wedge is 46 degrees. So that's exactly why I started with a 50. I like 4-degree 9-iron, your 8-iron, your 7-iron. You want roughly, let's say, 10 to 15 yards, maybe 8 to 12 yards difference in carry between them all. Ideally. It will get shorter as you go longer just because they're harder to hit. But ideally you want that gapping. Now you want that to extend down below into your shorter irons. So I look for 4-degree increments. So that's why I went for a 50 degree, because when I'm hitting full to 3/4 shots, I want to have that consistent different option. So as I get closer to the green, I've gone from 100 yards roughly to now roughly around that 84 yard mark, which will just be like a 3/4 54 degree. If I didn't have enough gapping or difference in loft between my 50, my 54, my 58, for example, let's say I went 52, 54, I would find that I would have a massive gap in yardages between where my gap wedge went and my pitching wedge in my set. Also, on the other hand, if I then went from 50 to 56, a more traditional sand wedge that we see, again, I would have a too big a yardage span. I would almost have to hit a really, really hard sand wedge, which we don't really want to do, or I'd have to sort of tickle a 50 to find that gap in that yardage. We don't want that. We want consistent gapping. So majority of the time, we don't have to find some or take a lot off. That is what we really, really need. Equally, if that gapping is too close, 1 second, let me hit this. We'll talk. Oh, that's straight down it. That's straight down it, isn't it? Woo-hoo! So yeah, as I was saying, if that gapping is too close, you'll find that your wedges just go too similar distances. And we don't want that. This part of our game is so overused, and what I mean by overused is we use it all the time. So having consistent gapping of around 4-degree increments is what I want you to check that you've got. So simply, Just head online, do a little bit of a Google and find out what the loft of your pitching wedge is. Like I just said, mine is 46 degrees, hence why I went 50. Now from there, you can then go and select your wedges and your lofts. That is what I need you to do. Now, don't think if you're looking at it right now going, Alex, I go 52, 54. Alex, I bought second hand, I go 56, 58. Is that too close? Now, I do have a solution for you. Oh, 58 dialed in there. I can't wait to see where they've all finished. Now, my solution for you is this. It's going to cost you a bit of money, but it's not going buying new wedges. Most of these wedges are made from soft materials. Think of them like a forged iron. Most of them, even if they're cast, there is a little bit of play in them. And what I mean by play is that you can pop them in a loft and lie machine and bend that loft slightly. And what I mean by play is that you could pop a wedge in a loft and lie machine and tweak this angle slightly. So this one right here. So here's an example. Here's a couple, right? Say you had a 50, a 56 and a 58. What you could do, because your 56 and 58 is so close, is strengthen your 56 to 54 degrees. Bend it by a couple of degrees. So then you've got that gapping of 50, 54, 58. Or let's say for another example, your pitching wedge is a 46 degree and you carry a 52, then a 56 and a 58, you could actually potentially strengthen your 52 to a 50 and your 56 to a 54, just so then again, you've got some consistent gapping. And I know it's going to cost you a little bit of money, but it's not buying a brand new set of wedges. Now, it's not only important having gapping on these shots, but also when you get around the greens, when you've got those little delicate shots, you want variation on how those fly. Oh, look how consistent these are, by the way. I would take every single one of these wedges. Look at these. Look at those, right? They're really nice and consistent, like really nice and consistent. Here we go. I think this is my 58. I didn't quite hit it hard enough on that last shot that I hit. So you get to scenarios just short of the green and you have more options. So if you had like wedges that were too similar lofted, you wouldn't have as many options just as like standard. That shot, by the way, I just played that with my 50. I would take that every time. I'd take that every time. So look, I'm gonna play my 50 degree, have a look at the flight of this. Then I'm gonna play my 54 and my 58. You'll notice I've got 3 different loft options around the green. I've got a really high shot, let's say that carries 75% in the air, 25% rollout in my 58. I've then got my 50-50 shot, my 54 degree, which will be 50% in the air, 50% rollout. And finally, I've got my 25% in the air and 75% rollout. That would be my 50 degree. Now don't forget, you've also got your pitching wedge from your set, which is built into this, because you've got 4 degree gapping. That's what I like to see. You could also do 6 degree gapping, as in you could go 46, 52, 58. But what I'm looking for here is consistent gapping to give you options from approach shots in on those pitch shots, and then when you get around the greens. Okay, let's talk bounce. As I mentioned earlier, I've got 12 degrees of bounce on my 50, 12 degrees of bounce on my 54, and 14 degrees of bounce on my 58. Now, it is important to note that I was fitted for these wedges, and I didn't realise this till at the time. The raw grind and bounce plays on created a more centred hit. And a more centred hit means more spin on pitch shots, more spin on chip shots, and more control, which is absolutely ideal. But I realised, right, not all of us have got access to that. Not all of us have got access to be able to get fitted. So this is a rule of thumb that I've used for years. And it's a real simple one. Okay, so if you're a golfer who plays more parkland, wetter, these conditions that I'm sort of in now, unlike a links golf course, if you play parkland in your gap wedge and your 54, so let's say you're 50 and you're 54, I'd be looking at around 10 to 12 degrees of bounce. Just because bounce is a really good thing when you're playing softer conditions. It allows the club to glide through that turf a little bit better. If you're a golfer who plays more link style, really firm, really tight turf, I'd be looking at a slightly lower set of bounces, maybe 8 to 10 in your 50 and your 54. But with the club that you use in the sand, which for most of us is going to be our 58 or our 60, depending on our gapping, please, please, please make sure you've got your highest bounce. So highest being the most. So in my sense, I've got 14 degrees. Now this just really helps the club, long bunker shot, sit, glide through that sand. Bounce is your friend in a bunker. It really encourages the club to glide. Now I'm not saying for 1 minute you can't play good bunker shots with a low bounce club. I'm just talking about making it a lot easier. So with the club that you use in a bunker, I would look between 12 and 14 degrees of bounce. This just gives you the best chance. Oh, go in, hit the flag. Oh. So I have to say, I now feel so much better that we have discussed together what you need to do and look for if you have old wedges and you're thinking they're not right, or you're in the market for new wedges. You can either get them bent, loft and lied, and tweaked slightly and cranked, or if you're in the market for new wedges, please, 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 have a look at what your pitching wedge is, work your gapping from there, and take my advice on bounce. Thanks so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed this video on how good golf. As I always say, don't forget this channel is powered by you, the viewers, so as long as you're subscribed and you've turned on the bell, just comment down below what you want me to test next.